Tod-Ai.Market news. The characters are fictitious and do not correspond to real people. Invest at your own discretion.
Hola, today we are going to talk about the energy market. In approximately 10 minutes you will know: 1. What factors are of interest to producers? 2. How do they affect prices? 3. What are we waiting for now? What factors are of interest to producers? According to EIA, U.S. Energy Information Administration, currently, the largest source of energy is still natural gas. In developed countries, in general, renewables outperform coal, although this is not the case worldwide. Nuclear energy also plays an important role. The use of high-carbon energy sources has a not insignificant penalty. In Europe, as in other regions, emission limits have been implemented. If exceeded, it is necessary to purchase emission credits at auction. The prices of these credits that give the right to emit more carbon have skyrocketed, as evidenced by data provided by TradingEconomics.com. In 3 years they have increased 5-fold. Companies that consume less than available carbon credits can sell them on the market and profit from the fact of emitting less CO2. This is an important incentive. Another way to earn carbon credits is through projects called CO2 capture and storage, CCS. Let's say that the CO2 produced is stored under the ground or the sea and thus you do not emit it, at least for a few years. Although it generates doubts, these projects are also proliferating. Emissions costs make it unattractive to invest in obtaining and processing fossil fuels. Companies have been reducing their investments in oil exploration over the last 15 years. There has even been talk of the possibility that there will not be enough oil in 2050 if investments in discovering new wells are not increased. Not only are companies no longer looking for new deposits, banks also stop financing them in search of greener projects in line with their policies to contribute to reducing the carbon footprint. The fact of the Russian bans has turned the tide. Initially, energy sources such as coal had to be used to replace Russian oil and gas, which fueled a price increase in emission credits as well. Now investment in oil exploitation to replace Russian sources is being increased again. Natural gas is being heavily relied upon to maintain needed energy production and reduce coal use again. All this while renewable sources do not provide enough energy to cover the demand. Although there are an investment increase in the use of renewable energy sources, progress remains slow. In addition to the Russian problem, issues also arose in the supply chain. Shortages were caused, supply reduction. Oil and gas prices rise sharply in 2022. This has led to large investments being made to improve the supply chain. In addition to expanding supply capacity, also to make it, of course, less polluting, the producers, as a result of all this, want 1. Cost-effective energy sources. 2. They do not involve high costs in fees or emission rights. 3. That they do not generate dependence on a single country or provider. 4. Can be easily distributed. How do they affect prices? We have already seen the high prices of emission credits in the past. In addition to providing incentives to reduce emissions, also provides a great benefit to carbon credit market intermediaries. All these costs will be passed on to the end consumer who will pay more for the same kilowatts of energy consumed. This is a rise that, although it has a good part, harms the consumer, at least in the short and medium term. Another totally artificial and political decision like Russia's, has led to high inflation. The price of gas as a major energy source greatly impacts the final price per kilowatt hour. This is without forgetting the tax part. Prices are now almost cheap after last year's prices, but they are on a high historical line. What do we expect now? Natural gas prices went up last year, with seasonal peaks during high demand months. In the following discussion, the fictional characters Luz Blanco and Tron Bright will talk to us about what they expect now in the energy market.
Allah, I expect energy will still be expensive, emission rights will remain at high level of cost. Energy sources are not going to change drastically, although I expect an improvement in the sense that the most polluting sources will be reduced. Natural gas is going to continue to be the largest source of energy in this decade, and I believe its prices are now going to increase. The weather has been favorable this winter and has allowed for lower demand, but we don't know what the next one will be like. Hot summer will increase gas demand, as well as a more active Chinese economy, and in summer, gas purchases must also be made in order to have enough gas for the winter. They are not going to be price increases like those of 2022, but energy will be far from cheap.
Allah, I would like to emphasize that oil has lost its efficiency. New fields are more expensive to exploit, and the oil is also generally of poorer quality. It is not in our interest to delegate all our energy and our transportation in oil. Other sources must be sought. We are going to see a lot of investments in alternative energies, but it's not going to be an easy road, and I think there will be price increases. The fact that oil's electricity generation capacity is decreasing over time may pose a risk of long-term shortages. Supply is reduced and has to be sought in other ways. It also seeks to reduce energy demand by being more efficient and also contracting the economy. Energy shortages would be the worst result of current policies, and action must be taken in all directions until there is security.
Tron, indeed. The good news is that on the supply side, there are many alternatives: hydrogen, nuclear fusion, geothermal, new wind and solar technologies. The biggest problem will be found on the transportation side, in getting vehicles that do not depend on, at least too much, of a specific raw material, such as lithium, for example.
I agree, Luz. We are seeing an attempt to reduce the use of private vehicles, especially in European cities. Access to certain areas is not allowed, lanes and parking areas are eliminated. These measures are intended to prolong the current supply while alternatives are found.
The young generations already come with the inculcated idea of not contaminating, which is the same as not wasting current energy sources. There is an undercurrent to the green message, and it is just that: do not spend. This is not a bad thing if a good quality of life is achieved, with more local economies, more efficiency, and more variety.
Being critical, I believe that we are still at a stage of underdevelopment in the global energy landscape. I am convinced that more progress could have been made and that the current system will seem archaic in the not-too-distant future. Energy technology development is the most important issue in today's economy. This is going to impact the way we live, at the pace of development.
We will come to see with these possible innovations an economy with the marginal cost of production close to zero, as Jeremy Rifkin has postulated. The entire world economic system must be adapted, not an easy reset if you do not want to take too many things ahead of you. It is necessary to be well informed. I would not like to see other artificial measures that lead to price increases such as emission rights. In the next chapter we will discuss raw materials, something that is not unconnected to today's episode.